Hello CraftDee family, and welcome to another tutorial by She's So CraftDee. For today's DIY projects, I'll be sharing 10 of my favorite everyday decor DIYs that you can recreate from Halloween items available at the Dollar Tree. Now, to all of my amazing subscribers and visitors, I wanted to say hey, and if you haven't subscribed yet, you definitely should to see more fresh and original craft ideas on my channel. So let's dive in and get started. Using 2 of these plastic candy jars from the Halloween section at the Dollar Tree. Now we're going to take those jars and we're going to remove all of the labeling and give them a good clean. Now once they're nice and clean, we are going to be painting these. So the first paint that I'm going to be using is some black spray paint. You can use flat or satin or whatever color you want. Now we're only going to be painting the lids this color. Now for the body of the jars, I'm going to be using some white spray paint. Now just remember, when you do paint the lids of the jars, remove the little rubber ring as shown here, and we'll put that back on once it's all painted. So here's the bottom of the jars, all nice and painted white. And here are the tops. They turned out perfect, and I'm going to just go ahead and throw that rubber ring right back on there. And now I can place these back inside the jars. They fit nice and snug and make it a complete, beautiful black and white look. Now I wanted to add another accessory to this, and what I did is I grabbed some of these Dollar Tree chalkboard stickers. I love the design of these. They have so many different styles at the Dollar Tree. I was actually looking for some larger ones, but these ones I think will work okay. So I decided to choose one of the little decorative ones at the top, and I'm going to place one of these on each one of my jars to accessorize it. And here they are. They're just 2 simple sweet jars that you could decorate. And now here are the 2 cute little jars on display. Now these are so simple and sweet, and I'm so happy to share this cute idea. Now, even though I don't do much Halloween crafting and decorating, I do love to buy Halloween craft supplies and transform them into everyday beautiful decor items. Now, you don't just have to use these as storage jars either. Now, you can add your choice of greenery and ribbon for a year-round decor piece. Now, I simply added some eucalyptus and gingham ribbon to change from a treat jar into a planter. Now, I do hope you all love this option too. And then, of course, you can dazzle the table or the shelf decor with some beautiful fall bundles for seasonal decor. Now, I do love the versatility of this piece, and every look just keeps getting better and better. I hope that you all give this really easy DIY a try. Now we're going to need one of these Halloween wood houses from the Dollar Tree. We're also going to need one of these MDF Welcome Signs, also from the Dollar Tree. We're going to start with our house. Go ahead and remove the tags. And what we're going to do first is we are going to cut out the window. So I'm using this piece of black craft foam. Now I'm just using my little chalk marker, and I want to trace out onto the foam all of the little windows. So I'm going to trace out the 2 bottom windows, the 2 top square windows, and that 1 arched window at the very top there. So I have 5 total cutouts. I'm just using my little chalk marker here. You can use a pen or whatever you like. We won't see this in a final project. So now that we have these all traced on our black craft foam, we can cut those out. Now here they are all cut out and ready to go, but for now we are going to sit these to the side while we work on our house. Now for my house, I wanted to go with a nice white color. I'm going to be using my white acrylic paint. You could use chalk paint or any color or style that you like. So I'm just going to apply 1 to 2 coats of that white paint all over the front of the house, making sure you get inside those windows and along the edges. And here it is, all nice and covered. You want to let it dry, and here is the final result. So now what I wanted to do is go in and highlight all the roof areas of my house to let them stand out a little better. So I'm just going to be using this black paint marker. Now I got this as a freebie thrown in with one of my orders that I made online. So I'm going to give it a try today. So what I'm going to do is use my ruler just to make sure it's even and just outline the edge of the roof. Now I don't know if it's because I painted it previously and I'm going over it with another paint. I didn't quite like how this marker kind of operated on it, but you could probably achieve this same look by using a Sharpie or using a fine tipped paintbrush with some black acrylic paint, which is the acrylic paint is probably what I would use if I were to do this a second time. So here is all of my edges and everything trimmed out with the black, so I'll know where all my roof parts are on my project. So now we're going to grab all of those windows, and we're going to grab the bottom ones, the 2 square ones, and then the topped arch one as well. Now these are going to be formed into shutters. So what I'm going to do is fold the window cutout in half. I'm going to kind of press it in the center to make a little seam, and then take my scissors and cut it right down the center so I have 2 pieces. Now I am going to put one side of these shutters on each side of the window. Now as you notice, I did not place them right here, but this is just preliminary. I change it up a little later, but I'm just going to lay each side on the side of each window. So here I am, I'm flipping them the right way so they look like wings. Make sure that yours look like wings. That is the correct way to lay your shutters. So I'm going to do this for all of my windows and make sure they're laid out. And then once they are laid out, just go in with your hot glue and then secure each one of those shutter pieces in place. Now, I just think that the look of the shutters just complete this look and give it a more neutral look, less haunted house like, more of neutral house decor. So I really love how this look looks. Now I looked at the door and it does seem like it needs to be trimmed out as well, so I went in with my chalk marker and I traced that out as well, and then I'm going to trim out the door. Now you do want to leave a little extra edge around your tracing because you want it to be able to adhere to the wood. So I'm just going to outline that with a little hot glue and then place that covering over the door, making sure you don't cover that top arch window above the door. And there you go, the door is nice and covered, and there is your house piece. Now to accent my house, I wanted to give some bushes out front, so I'm taking this scrap piece of boxwood, and I get these from Walmart, super cheap. So I pulled out some of those sprigs, and what I'm going to end up doing is hot gluing 2 of those little bunches on each side of the house. On each side is the little stairway looking part of the house. So once I get 2 pieces on each side, this is what it looks like when it's all hot glued together. And now I'm just going to take my scissor and I'm going to cut off those stems along the bottom. And then I'm going to go in and trim the top of the shrubs. I didn't want them to overlap the window opening at all. I wanted to give it a nice clean look as if you had your shrubs nice and trimmed down in front of your home. So I'm just going to go in with my scissors and give those a little trim. Now here are all of my little greenery pieces all trimmed and good to go. Now to trim out the bottom so you don't see the bottom of the shrubs, what I decided to do is cut another strip of that crafting foam, and it's about 1/2 inch, and I'm just going to trim out the bottom. So I'm just going to run a line of my hot glue along the bottom, along that bottom wood strip there, across the bushes, and then I'm going to lay my craft foam piece carefully right on top. Now I want to pull it kind of taut because I want this nice and straight, and just press it gently on top of that hot glue. And then just trim off the ends, and now your house piece is all ready to go. So now we're going to work on our welcome sign. Now in order to match my project, I decided to go with some black. So I'm going to paint this with this black acrylic paint. Now I am going to go ahead and remove that hanger. Now initially in my mind I was thinking I was going to use the plant chain hanger, but I did change my mind at the last minute and just go ahead and use the jute twine that came with it instead. So I'm just going to add some of my black acrylic paint, and we are just going to be applying this to our welcome sign. Now this small welcome sign has a lot of tiny little areas, so you do want to be careful. What I found is that painting the outside first and then painting the top first and the inside of the letters second kind of works for me, and then let it dry, and then you'll see any areas that you missed and then just touch up as needed. And here it is, all nice and painted. And here is our house piece and our welcome piece all nice and dry and ready to go. So I'm going to flip both of these face down because I want the welcome sign to kind of hang from the bottom of the house. So I'm using that same jute twine that came with the welcome sign to attach it. So I'm going to space these evenly apart. I'm kind of eyeballing it. You could definitely use a grid mat if that helps. So I'm going to take my jute twine that came with it, tie a knot on the end, lay it on the back of the welcome sign, and give it a couple staples in there to reattach it to the back of that welcome sign. And we're going to do this on the other side as well by tying a knot, stapling that in place, and then spacing it evenly between the house. Now once it's spaced evenly, add a generous bead of that wood hot glue. Place your jute twine right in it. You want to pull it nice and taut. Make sure it's laying right into that glue. And then repeat that on the other side for the other piece of jute. Now once that dries, go ahead and flip it over and make sure your spacing is okay. This is the time where you can make some adjustments before you add your final touches. Now everything looks good with mine, so I'm going to flip it back over, take my hot glue, and I'm just going to go back and forth over those jute twine pieces just to make sure they are nice and secure to the wood. And then I'm going to cover each one of the ends up with some craft paper. It just gives a nice little final touch that makes it look very professional, and none of that raw end of the string is exposed. And there you have it, a beautiful home sign that is welcoming your guests. So the final little thing you want to do is to add your hanger, and here I'm just taking some Dollar Tree jute and I'm just going to cut a piece about 4 inches long, and I'm just going to gather the tails of it, tie a knot in there, and then stick it right back through the hole that's already in the house. You want to pull it through the front, and then you cut those tails off, and then hot glue the end where the knot is on the back. And there it is, you have a little hang loop for your piece. And here it is, you guys, a really cute house with a welcome sign that you can display on your door or in your home. Now we're going to be using 2 of these Halloween lanterns from the Dollar Tree. Now we're going to take those Halloween lanterns, and we're first going to go ahead and remove all of the tags at the top. Now we're going to remove the top 2. There's 2 little tabs at the top. I like to just go ahead and just put the edge of my scissors in there, and it pops those tabs right out, and you can remove the lid of both of your lanterns this way, really easy. Now what we're going to be doing this is cutting out this Halloween design on each one of the sides. And there's a couple things you can use to do this. Now you can use a pair of fine tipped wire clippers, and I'm just clipping around the edges that connect the design to the frame, or you can use a hot knife. Now I love using my hot knife. If you don't have one of these, you need to have one in your arsenal, and I'll link it in the description box below. So I'm first going to go in with my fine tipped wire clippers and just start to disconnect all of the edges that connect to the frame that I can access with that clipper. Now, once I've removed all those loose pieces, we have this solid piece at the bottom. This is where we're going to take our hot knife, and I'm just going to gently just kind of go in a carving motion really slowly around the design until it's completely removed. And here is the open section of that lantern. That hot knife cuts through this plastic like butter, you guys. So it's definitely making this project so much easier. Now, here is the entire lantern with all of the Halloween decor removed, and now you've transformed it into a neutral decor piece. Now for one look, all you have to do is to put that lid back on and you have an open candle lantern. Now I'm going to do this for both of them so I can have two basic lanterns to work with to customize. Now the first style that I wanted to do that was different was to use the chopping mats. If you've been following me for a while, you know I love to use the chopping mats in my lantern decor to do like a cheater method of adding a frosted look. So we're going to be using one of these cutting mats. It has a shiny and a matte side, and you want to make sure the matte side is going to be facing outward. So for the opening of the lantern, I made a little template cut out of craft paper just to make sure I get the sizing right. So I put the craft paper inside the lantern again just to make sure that it fits okay. This is the inside dimension of one of the sides, and this is what we'll be using as a guide to cut out our frosted mat. Now what I'm going to do is, with the assistance of my cutting mat and my grid there, I am going to be laying my template across the mat, just tracing the bottom and the top at the front and the bottom at the top at the very end of the mat. And then I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to draw a line connecting them. Now what this will do is have one solid strip. Now we were lucky to have this cutting mat be the exact dimension and length that we needed to go all the way around the inside of that lantern. So that was a lucky thing there. So now I'm just taking my scissors and I'm going to carefully cut out that strip on both sides that I just marked. And once you do that, you have this one long strip. Now we need to divide it into sections, but we won't be cutting it. What we'll be doing is taking our template again, and we're going to go ahead and divide it into 4 equal sections. So for every time I lay it down, I'm just going to draw a line and then place it to the next section until I have 4 equal sections in this plastic strip. Now to help me bend the plastic to make sure it's even, I'm going to use the assistance of my ruler and this embossing tool that I got from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to run that embossing tool 2 or 3 times along each one of the lines that I marked, and that will help you bend and fold your piece really even. Such an easy tool to use. If you don't have that, definitely grab one of those. It's so handy. So I'm going back through and now I'm folding it on all of the lines that I embossed. So now we have our little piece all folded in its 4 sections, and all you should be able to do now is just slide it inside of the lantern and it should fit perfectly. As you see, now we have that frosted effect for a second look on our lantern. So now I'm going to flip it over. One thing I love about these lanterns is they take AAA batteries instead of the really rinky-dinky little batteries that come with them, because they never last. So, and this is a larger candle inside. So when you turn this on, it actually is larger and it flickers. So I am really happy that it does take batteries, because it'll last longer and you can enjoy them longer. Now for the third look we're going to be using some of this gutter guard mesh. Again, if you've been following me, you know I love this stuff. So what I do is I'm just going to unroll it and I'm going to cut it into sections. Now if you can't find gutter guard mesh at your home improvement store, you can definitely use the metal mesh of a Dollar Tree garbage can as well. So I'm just going to trace out my template on that mesh, and then I'm going to take my scissors and cut it off. Now this is a very sturdy plastic, but it cuts so very easily with a sharp pair of scissors, so you can work with it really easy to fit into a lot of your projects. So I'm double checking my measurements again, and it does fit on the template, so you know it'll fit inside of the lantern. So I went ahead and made four total cuts to go in each side of my lantern. Now here I'm just reverse bending it because it does have a curve to it, just to make sure it lays flat once you install it into your lantern. And I'm doing a test fit just to make sure it fits on the inside, and it does, so you know your template works out well and the plastic is cut right. So now to attach it, all I'm going to do is I'm going to run a bead of glue along the inside edge where each one of those edges of the lantern is. And once you get those 2 beads run on 2 sides, we can take that mesh material, stick it inside, and make sure the mesh edges meet up with that glue, just carefully pressing it into the glue. And here is one side all done. Now we're going to repeat this process all the way around, and here is our mesh lantern all covered up. I love how this looks. And now all we have to do is add our batteries and the top of our lantern to complete our look. And there you have it. And here they are, you guys, 2 beautiful lanterns with 3 possible looks. Now I love working with the gutter guard mesh, and it looks so high end, and the classic frosted look blends in perfectly with so many types of decor. But we're going to need a 5-pack of these St. Patrick's Day cauldrons from the Dollar Tree. So go ahead and open those and separate them from the package. And then once they're all out, we want to cut off those little handles. Now they're easy to pull out, but I recommend that you cut them so you don't damage the top part of your cauldron pots. So now we're going to apply a layer of primer, and I'm going to use my Zinsser 123 for the outside of my pots. And here they are, all dried and ready to go. So I'm going to take some of that leftover paint mix, and then I'm going to put some tape around my pots on how I want to design them. Now I wanted a halfway painted up design on some of my pots, so I'm taking some painter's tape and putting it around there. Now sometimes for my round projects I do use electrical tape, but since this is a pre-painted surface, I decided to go with painter's tape to be safe. So I'm just going to add some of that paint mixture around the bottom half of the pots, and as you can see, it is creating that beautiful texture. Now for the second pot, we're going to do the same thing, and for this one we're going to put that painter's tape just a little lower because we will be painting the top of the pots. So again, I'm going to apply that paint mixture along the top of the pots. You want to make sure that you do overlap the tape to make sure you get a nice crisp edge, and you want to make sure you get at that top edge really well. Now for this third pot, I'm just going to cover the entire pot. I think it would look so cute to have a solid cement looking pot, so I covered this entire one. Now for the remaining 2 pots, you can do however you like. I'm going to repeat this process for the other 2 using these same methods. So now that they're all painted, I'm just going to sit them to completely dry. So now that they are dry, you can go ahead and remove all of that painter's tape, and you can see that it leaves a nice crisp edge and it doesn't damage our primed paint surface. So here are all 3 of the pots with the halfway design. Now to highlight these, I'm just going to go ahead and use, first of all, I'm going to use this white acrylic paint to paint the white surfaces of my pots. This is just a primer, so we want to put an acrylic coat or a solid coat on top of that to make sure it looks nice and neat. And then for the other pots that are solid and have that gray portion on them, I'm just going to dust them lightly with a chip brush with some of that white acrylic paint to give them that weathered look and let that texture stand out. So now that they're all dry, we can go ahead and decorate the pots. Now I have an assortment of succulents, and I also have some of these river rocks that I got from the Dollar Tree that I just put in a big bag. I'm just going to put some of these river rocks in each one of my little pots, and then I'm going to decorate each one of them with a succulent, and I got these from the Dollar Tree. And here they are, looking cute as ever, and I think that these turned out so adorable. Now you can easily see the unique textures in each pot, and you would never know that these were cheap plastic cauldron pots. Now I have these displayed on a Dollar Tree crate shelf from a previous DIY, and they fit perfectly. Now no matter how you choose to display them, they make a great way to add color and dimension to your space. project, we'll need 2 of the large size Halloween containers from the Dollar Tree. And we'll need 3 packs of the Jumbo Craft Sticks from Lowe's for 98 cents. Now we're going to start by using this black acrylic paint, and we're going to cover some of the exposed edges of the containers. Now the exposed edges will be around the top rim and on the inside edge where that print carries over. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that ribbon handle and get that out of the way, and we're going to get ready to paint. So what we're going to do is apply 2 coats of that black acrylic paint around those edges, and we want to make sure that they are fully dry in between the coats. And then once both coats are fully dry, we're going to protect that paint from chipping with a layer of this matte Mod Podge that you can also get from the Dollar Tree. And you want to make sure that when you apply your Mod Podge, you want to coat all of the areas that you have painted. Now once that dries, we are also going to apply some of that black paint to the bottom curves of the container. Now this will keep the design from peeking through when you apply your craft sticks. So you can cover the entire container if you like, but it's not necessary. Now we just want to apply a coat of that paint to the 4 curves, and then you want to let them all completely dry. So now we can prepare our craft sticks, and we will be using hot glue to apply these. Now we're going to start by applying the sticks to the sides of the containers. So we want to start by aligning that first stick along the top edge and marking the edges on the underside with a pencil. Now these can easily be cut with a pair of scissors on those lines that you marked. Now you do want to check that fit before hot gluing, and then if it's good, go ahead and apply a bead of hot glue and press it into place. And you want to repeat this for the second stick. You want to make sure that it's a nice snug against that first stick, cut and fit, and apply into place with hot glue. Now you do want to repeat this all the way around the sides of the container. Now for the curve, you just want to make sure that those edges are nice and lined up. And now that the sides are complete, we can move on to covering the front of the container. Now when we start the front, we do want to start in the middle because we want to make sure that the placement of the sticks will be nice and even. Now I'm just going to lay my stick straight in the center, mark those edges on the underside, and trim to fit. Now if it is a nice and even fit, apply glue and secure that stick straight in the middle. And then apply all the other sticks along the sides. And now that the front is complete, we can just repeat this for the back. And here is our container completely covered. And now we just repeat this for the other container. And here are both containers covered and ready to stain. Now I am going to gather up my staining supplies, and you can, like I said, you can always use antiquing wax or diluted acrylic paint or whatever medium you choose to use to achieve this look. It's all up to you and what you prefer. So I'm just going to apply the stain to both of the containers, and you want to make sure that you get into all of the exposed seams of those wood pieces, including the top ledge. And now that both pieces are stained, you want to let them completely dry. Now once they are dry, I decided I wanted to add some handles, or you can even add rope as an option. Now I'll be using these metal handles that I picked up from my local Habitat Humanity, and they were only 50 cents each. So to apply these, I'm going to need to drill holes, so I'm just marking the placement of the holes with my marker on each side. And then I'm going to use a 3/16 drill bit to make the holes. And then I'm just going to take my screws and I'm going to insert them from the inside where they're poking to the outside. And then once all those are done, I'm just going to screw in the handles. And now both of your containers are ready to decorate. Here they are. Now I added some eucalyptus to one and a tassel road mat decor to the other, and they look great. Now the rich color of this stain looks so good on these, and it really does give them a high-end look. Then just add the hardware of your choice, and it really amps this piece up. Now, no matter how you use these, they will be a beautiful addition to your space. We're going to start with one of these Halloween signs from the Dollar Tree and a white wastebasket from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to lay out my cutting mat and grab my wood sign and remove all of the tags. Now what we want to do is remove the haunted house from the frame, because we'll be using the frame for this project. So I'm taking a pencil and making sure that my outline is in a perfect circle, so I'll be able to cut it evenly. Now to cut this, I'm going to use a utility knife, but you can use an X-Acto knife or very sharp box cutter if you like. All you're going to do is score the edges that touch the frame 3 or 4 times, and it should snap apart. Now you just want to be very careful. These blades are very sharp, but they should pop out fairly easily when they have been scored. Now after you remove the house, you want to smooth out any rough edges, and you can just do this with some sandpaper. You just want to sand them down lightly. So here's our frame all ready to work with. Now I wanted to line the inside of my frame with some mesh, and I'm going to use this white wastebasket from the Dollar Tree. Now you definitely can use some chicken wire or other wire of your choice. Now in order to prepare the wastebasket, we're going to take our wire clippers and we're going to start clipping away at the bottom of the wastebasket and remove the bottom part. And then we're going to do the same thing for that top rim. Now once you remove the top and the bottom, you want to cut up this seam. You'll notice it's a little thicker than the rest of the basket. You can use wire clippers or scissors. Now I do recommend you definitely use hand protective wear. I did get a few scratches from working with this, but definitely protect your hands because this could be very sharp. Now when it is cut, you just want to pull and shape it until it is as flat as possible. Now here's my flat piece that I have formed, and now we're ready to use it. So go ahead and grab your frame and lay it right on top. And what we're going to do is trace out that inner circle of the frame onto the wastebasket. Now once that is traced on, go ahead and cut that portion away from the screening. And then you can start cutting out your circle. Now when you cut out your circle, you want to actually cut it about 1/4 of an inch larger than your actual circle, so it can overlap on the back side when you adhere it. So now we're going to go ahead and prepare and paint our frame, and I'm going to be using some white chalk paint. You just want to apply a nice good coat all over one side of the frame, making sure you get into all those cracks and crevices of the design. And once it's painted, just let it sit to completely dry. And now that it's dry, we can start adding some accents to it. Now I'm just going to do this with a black Sharpie. You can definitely use paint, but I felt like I had a little bit more control using a Sharpie to get around all those intricate details. Now once I've outlined most of those details, I am going to go back in and I'm going to add some little wear and tear or chipping around some of the edges. This just gives it more antique character, makes it look kind of old and antique. So I'm just going to go around randomly adding these marks. So here's my frame with all my marks added, and it's ready to go. So now we can flip it over and add that screening to the back. Now what you could also do is use a Dollar Tree mirror. They sell these, and this is almost the perfect size to fit inside these frames. If you pop that out and remove that cardboard backing and place this right on top, you'll notice it makes the perfect frame for one of these mirrors. Now I'm just going to prepare mine for this wire mesh. Now to adhere it, I'm going to be using my wood stick hot glue around the edge. Now I want to put about half around the circle, of the wood glue first and then place the mesh right on top. Now you do want to press this into place. You can use a silicone spatula or your silicone mat to make sure it's bonded, and repeat this on the other edge as well. And here is my mesh all applied to the frame. So now what we can do is embellish our frame. So the Dollar Tree has such a beautiful assortment of fall florals this year. So I'm just going to trim one down to size and make sure it fits on the front of my frame. Now to cover up the clipped bottom, I'm going to use some Dollar Tree Jute Twine. I'm just going to hot glue it at the top and then wrap it all the way down the stem to the bottom to make sure you cover up any of those raw wires. Now once that's covered, you want to lay it on your frame and arrange your flowers the way you want them displayed. Now to attach this, I'm not going to hot glue it in place. All I'm going to do is tie it in place with some jute twine going through that wire mesh as shown here. Now this will enable it to be switched out throughout the seasons, and you could keep it up year round. Just run your jute twine through the stem and tie it off in the back, and now your florals are nice and secure. Now to embellish it, I have this little gingham bow, and I'm going to add that to the bottom of my arrangement. Then as a final touch, I am going to take another piece of some gingham ribbon. I'm going to loop it around, and I am going to have this added to the top of my frame. This will be used to hang it. You can also use the hang hole at the top if you like, but I thought the gingham gave it a really unique accent, so I'm just going to hot glue that ribbon into place. And here is your piece ready to display. And here it is, all complete and hanging up, and it looks super cute. Now these Halloween frames come in so many styles, and they are perfect to customize with. Then you could just add your flowers or greenery of your choice to fit the holiday or season. And they're super easy to make. Now I really love these pastel and green bundles at the Dollar Tree this year for this project. Now you could go ahead and mix and match and blend them however you like. You can add ribbon, twine, or even beads to embellish them. And this mesh screen can also be used to hold your earrings. Now don't forget, you can also use a mirror in the back as well. Now this would be super cute mounted on a vanity stand or even hanging up in a powder room. Now either way that you choose to display it, it would be a beautiful addition to your space. Project will need 2 of these wood crates from the Dollar Tree. We'll need 1 of these square drawers from the Dollar Tree. We'll need 3 of these black bottles from the Halloween section at the Dollar Tree. And 1 bundle of this greenery from the Dollar Tree. Now we're going to start by taking the 2 crates and removing all of the labels. Now we will be adhering these together lengthwise, so just do a quick check to make sure that the crates are an even height. Now I will be using this wood glue from the Dollar Tree to adhere these together. And once that wood glue is applied, you just want to place 1 crate on top of the other and press them firmly together. Now for a little bit of extra security, I will be applying a few staples inside of the crates, so just go ahead and clip it in place, and then you can apply your staples. Now once it had a chance to dry, we can go ahead and stain our piece. And so I'm going to be gathering up my supplies from an earlier project. Now we will be staining the crates and the drawer portion of that wood block. And you can use stain, antiquing wax, or diluted acrylic paint. It's up to you. But I will be using my favorite Jacobian stain by Minwax, and I'm going to start applying the stain over the outside and inside of that block. And then we can move on to staining our crates, and you do want to make sure that you get that stain in those creases and also on the inside of the crates. And once stained, you want to sit them to the side to dry. So while these dry, we're going to go ahead and grab our bottles, and we want to remove all of the labels. Now we also want to remove those corks from the bottles as well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add some jute twine around the top of the bottles. Now we just want to apply a dab of hot glue to secure it at the beginning, wrap it around 4 or 5 times, and secure it with hot glue at the end. And then you want to repeat this process for your remaining bottles. So now that we're all done, we can add some greenery to the bottles. Now I cut these stems off of a bundle that I purchased from the Dollar Tree. All I want to do is adjust the leaves and the length, and I'm going to place one of the stems in each of the bottles. Now once everything is arranged to your liking, we're just going to sit these to the side. And we're going to grab those wood pieces that we stained. Now in order to make the stand, we're going to apply that smaller box to the top of the larger boxes, and I will be placing that cutout facing the back. Now since I want this to easily be removed, to use the crate as flip it over as a container, I'm just going to secure the crates to the smaller box with a few dots of hot glue, but add more if you want a more permanent connection. And then all you have to do is to add your bottles and your greenery. And here are the bottles on display. Now, I am really loving this clean and simplistic look. Now, these black bottles are really great quality and they look great with the beautiful leaves. Now, I think this Olympic style stand was perfect to showcase these bottles. And I think this wood grain in the crates is absolutely gorgeous in this piece. Now, when you add this to your decor, your guests will never know that this was all from the Dollar Tree. We're going to need one of these crystal ball Halloween signs from the Dollar Tree. And we're going to need one of these black metal home signs from the Dollar Tree. We're going to start off with our sign. Go ahead and remove the tags, and we're going to flip it over and remove that ribbon. Now it is attached with staples, but I noticed you really didn't even need the wire clippers. These pulled right out of the back with no problem. Now don't throw away that ribbon. We will be repurposing that later. Now the tacks and the staples did leave a little holes in the back, so I'm first going to go ahead and sand that down so I can get everything nice and smooth. And then I'm following up with some of this little Dollar Tree spackle, just kind of spackling over those little staple holes that were left in the back of my sign, and I didn't really need much at all. Now once it's about dry, I'm going to go ahead and sand it down, and I like some of the dust to get into that spackle to kind of smooth everything out, and then I'm just going to let everything get nice and dry. Now once it's dry, it is time to paint and customize. Now for the main part of the sign, I decided to use white chalk paint. It's nice and thick, and I only need one coat, so I'm going to cover the entire sign. And here it is painted, and don't forget those edges. Now for the little hanging tag at the bottom, I decided to use black acrylic paint. Again, just apply just one nice coat. That should give you plenty of coverage. And here is that hanging tag that goes at the bottom. Now I wanted some wording, so I'm using this collection of fall words that I got from the Dollar Tree, and they have so many different words in here, and the one that I chose said welcome fall. Now I did want to have a welcome on my sign, so I'm just going to go ahead and change this and just snip off the word fall with some wire clippers. It comes off really easily. You just want to make sure you take your time so you don't break the welcome side. And here it is. You have a nice little welcome sign to go on your tag. Now I am going to paint the welcome sign as well. I'm just using just a little bit of acrylic paint, and I'm just going to dab my paintbrush on that just to highlight those letters a little better. Now here it is all painted. Now let everything completely dry. So now that all my pieces are dry, I'm going to start customizing my little tag. I am going to take my white paint pen, my acrylic pen, and I'm going to put ticking marks across the top and the bottom of my ribbon piece to look like ribbon. And I'm also going to do the dovetails as well. Now once that paint pen ink dries, I'm going to take my welcome sign, I'm going to apply some hot glue on the back of it, and I want to center it right in the middle of my ribbon. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the main sign. Now I wanted to put a border on it, and I thought I was going to go ahead and freehand it first, but I said, let me grab a ruler. I want this to look neat. So what I'm going to do is make a border around the entire sign with a pencil, about 1/4 of an inch on the sides and the bottom, and then I kind of freehanded the top portion. Now I'm going to use my outline as a guide to go in with my Sharpie and to paint to actually draw a border around my sign, and this is how it turned out. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab that black home sign. I'm going to clip off the jute twine, and I noticed that there is a plastic layer on the front and the back of these metal pieces to protect them. So go ahead and remove it on both sides, and now you're left with this really beautiful shiny piece. So I'm going to be centering this metal sign towards the bottom of my sign because I'm going to be adding something to the top. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a few dots of hot glue to the back and press that into place. So now that that's done, flip both pieces over, and now we're going to string them all together. So go ahead and grab that ribbon that you removed at the beginning, and I'm going to just go ahead and cut pieces to put my pieces together. Now you can use the continuous strand as you wanted to, but I was just doing single pieces, cutting them down, just making sure that they were nice and evenly placed apart. So I'm just going to add some hot glue to each one of my pieces, starting attaching it to the main body piece at the top first, and then adding that sign. Now you definitely can use your ruler to make sure spacing is right. In fact, that would be a great idea because you do want to make sure that your welcome ribbon piece is hanging evenly from the top piece. Now once that piece is connected, we can go ahead and just add our hang loop to the top, and I'm just cutting a strand of this ribbon at the top and looping it around. And then just go ahead and hot glue it on each side. So now what we're going to do is we are going to cover the back. I love covering the back of my projects. It just makes it look more professional. So I have a piece of some craft paper here, and we're going to start the adhesion on the top portion of the sign. So I'm adding some glue around the perimeter of that top sign, pressing that down on the craft paper, and then flipping up that welcome portion and then adding glue on that and pressing that in place as well. Now once that's nice and dry, what we're going to do is we are going to cut that out, and I'm just using a utility blade. Being careful, don't cut through that ribbon, just work around it. It should be easy to cut through once it's done. So now that that's done, I'm going to take my drill, and I just have a drill bit in here big enough to put a zip tie through. I am going to just drill a hole at the top center, about 1.5 inches down from the top, and this will work when we start to interchange our greenery and decor to go with all of our seasons. Now, in order to do this, we're just going to need zip ties, and we get these from the Dollar Tree. Now, these 8-inch zip ties come in a 60 pack, I believe, from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to insert it through the back, then loop it right through until you have a loop at the front. Now, don't secure the back yet, not until you add your greenery of choice. I'm just going to take some of these holly bushes that I picked up from Dollar Tree. I'm bending in the stems, and I'm going to stick one through the loop first and then one through the opposite side, and then just rearrange that greenery in a way that looks good to you. Now once it does look okay, flip it over to the back, and then you can go ahead and zip tie and tighten those pieces together, and this is what it will look like. And here is the sign with the holly bundle, and I think that this looks super cute. Now I really love the shape of this sign, and it was the perfect template for this project. Now you can add this metal plate, or you can add custom wording if you like. Now this definitely was a great interchangeable project. You just clip that zip tie and add a new bundle to the header. And here is one that I used. Now I used some beautiful Dollar Tree floral and pine picks, and I think that this turned out so gorgeous. And then after the holiday is over, you just snip and swap with some sweet boxwood for a year-round look. Now, you guys, all of these projects today were so fun, and I hope that I've inspired you to get creative, and I really love each of these. But let me know in the comments which one of these was your favorite today. Now listen, I hope that you all were inspired by these creations and will give these projects a try. If you love DIYs on a budget, please give this video a thumbs up and share this video with your friends. Make sure that you're following She's So CraftDee on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest for the latest news, sneak peeks, and giveaways. Now also be sure to subscribe by clicking my She's So Crafty logo on your screen and hit that bell to be notified when the next DIY goes live. It doesn't cost a thing. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.